Hey, good evening and welcome to Monday night here on DJNTV. Tonight, we're missing someone.
Are we truly missing him? That's the question.
See, I really wonder. I think he might be watching just to see exactly how bad we bomb and, because, there's talent that carries a show and then there's us.
It's contract renegotiation time, right?
Exactly. So we're without Dan Carpenter tonight, for those of you who usually watch us on Monday nights. So it'll be just MJ and I. Dan's a little under the weather tonight. I'm guessing that, when you're around a bunch of 7th and 8th graders, it doesn't take too long before snotty noses and things kind of get to a person. So hopefully Dan is feeling better and he'll be with us again next week or so here. So let's see, we got Todd and Mikey jumping in, and I see David and let's see, there was another name. Yes, he's working on the quiz. He's going to be sending us the questions for the show tonight off there. So tonight, what we wanted to do is kind of just we haven't gotten together for a few weeks. It's been we've had a lot of things going on here and there, and the end of summer kind of hit. So we wanted to kind of catch up with some of the news of the industry. There's been a lot of things going on, some in public, some more private, and we're just going to kind of talk about a few of those tonight in this kind of a catch-all show as we're getting then ready for next week, which we will, if you were watching the little preview clips, we've got our monthly DJNTV trainings coming up next Monday night. So this will be our catch-up night. Then next week is education night, and then we'll be back in 2 weeks with another one of our general shows. So yes, elbow cough, Dan. Yeah. None of this and then no, yeah. So went to before we get going with the show, MJ, went to a cross-country meet tonight, and I have not had in a year and a half, whatever it's been, not since February of 2020 in Vegas, have I had as many people reaching to shake hands today. Yeah. And that's weird.
Yeah.
They're reaching and you're like, I feel like Buster from Arrested Development, how he would, that's kind of the weird,
right.
That's what I kind of felt like doing.
I'm still forcing people to fist bump.
Yeah.
They'll be, and I'll be like, mm-mm.
Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna shake hands and such. Let's just kiss and then we'll be okay. So, yeah.
I'm just gonna say it. I miss 2020. That was so awesome for me. I really loved 2020.
There were some things that were interesting with 2020, and I think back to people who always say, in the good old days it was so much simpler, and obviously that's people our age and older, that are 19 and 20 beyond. Like we are, but they talk about the good old days when things were simpler and we didn't have as many things going. And I think back to 18, 19, the number of times you saw people posting that. It's like, oh man, you watch Happy Days and it was such a simple time. Or you watch Andy Griffith's show or, Mayberry, and that was such a simple, boy, I wish we could go back to that. Well, 2020 was that, where there was nothing, you couldn't do things, you could do this and that. All you could do basically is this little part of your world. It became super simple and people hated it. So
I did the exact same thing that I did before. Nothing changed for me. It was so freaking awesome.
Yeah, nothing changed.
I didn't have to go out. I didn't have to make excuses for when someone invited me out. I wasn't being invited out. If somebody wanted to hug me, I didn't have to go, hey, I'm not a hugger. I didn't have to worry about that. Everything was sports stopped. People stopped touching me. I wasn't forced to go out in public. The only thing that was missing for making that heaven would be the absence of country music. That would have made it heaven for me.
the one piece that was a hang up.
But I can live with it, I guess. But I do miss it because it did fit me. I enjoyed that time. I still got to be creative. It was really good for me is all I can say. And I know people are going to hate me for that and think terrible of me. And yes, people did get very sick and pass, and that's a terrible thing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what worked for me was that.
And we'll kind of bridge off the whole, the solitude we were able to enjoy, for lack of a better way to describe it, of 2020 and even into 2021. And how that's going to affect what we just heard this past week is the NAMM show. The NAMM show, for those of you who don't know, it's the National Association of Musical Merchants, and it is a huge show in January. It's always been in January, except in 2021, they didn't have it for the first time. It was digital. It was supposed to be coming up in January of 2022. This past week, they announced that they're moving it to June of 2022. In the press release, they gave a couple of reasons for moving it to the summer, and it's one of those things that this is one of those where there's the official reason, and then there's the semi-unofficial reason. The official reason that they gave in the press release. MJ, did you get a chance to read that?
I glanced over it, so you're gonna have to fill me in.
Yeah. So they were talking about basically is with COVID, and this is completely legit. I'm not going to say it's not. With COVID in a Delta, and there's another version that they think is going to be coming in between now and the first of the year, that people are going to be skeptical of flying. And to a point, if I'm booking a hotel room for NAMM, if I didn't book it by now, which truthfully, mine was booked back in July. I booked it early July. I had the room already reserved, because if you don't book them that early, you're not going to get anything. So they knew people weren't going because there were rooms available, first off. And I actually checked probably about 3 weeks ago just to see if the prices had gone down, or if they were different. They hadn't changed, but there were still rooms available in some of the hotels that were kind of the early booking ones. So that was kind of a tip-off. Something wasn't going. When I heard unofficially, then a few days later is when they about a week later, then they...
You called me and, hey, did you hear? I'm like, no way.
Yeah, so somewhere in that ballpark. So obviously there was a concern. Then they also talked about, because of inventory, and this is something we've talked about on our shows, is that the manufacturers just don't have the gear in that they need to be selling. Some companies are getting things in, some are not getting things in, or they're so far back. And if you guys have purchased anything or you've needed to order appliances, you are experiencing the same situation. It's just across everything.
I was telling you the other day that I was at GNC, and they're telling me that they're having trouble getting some of their stuff, whether it be the protein powders or the vitamins or whatever.
And that you wouldn't think that would be the case. I mean, that's not electronics type stuff, which they keep throwing, that electronics are so far, which really makes me wonder tomorrow with Apple's announcements. Is Apple going to be, and we're going to be offering iPhone 7, or excuse me, the Apple Watch 7, but you might as well just wait, because by the time we get 7, 8's going to be right around the corner. So you might as well.
It's funny you say that, because when was that? On Friday, the #1 trending thing on Twitter wasn't iPhone 13, which they're going to announce. It was iPhone 14. Which I thought, that's interesting.
And it was the part that was, because that and Apple Watch 8, I've seen teasers out for both of them already. Yeah. And from a couple of legitimate sources who usually are the ones that break the current version. And now they're getting information on the next version. So it almost seems like, okay, we know it's going to be tough to get materials. We're going to do a limited run of 13s, and we're going to just jump ahead, figuring that we have to order now to get that. It seems odd. Yeah. It seems very, very odd. So manufacturers across the world are having problems right now. It's just absolutely crazy.
I have an industry bomb to drop right now. Are you ready for it?
I am. I wish I had
Pioneer and Denon are going to come out with new equipment.
Did you want to put a time frame on that?
Oh, I have no idea.
And that really becomes
I've
the
not
problem.
been told anything either. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and that really becomes a problem is the timing of it, because now typically NAMM would be the time. There was circulation around the industry that LDI, which is coming up, Infocom and LDI are both coming up here in November. Maybe October, November, but they're in October or November if they're not both in November.
Both in Florida, or
one is in Florida, and LDI, I think LDI is in Las Vegas is where it would be. Yes, it was in Vegas, because they were talking about Vegas COVID procedures that they're going to be following. So the word was that the lighting companies were going to be ready to go. They figured by Infocom or LDI, and that's where they were going to be showing off their new gear for 2022. That was 6-8 weeks ago that was the discussion. It was ahead of DJ Expo. Here we are a little ways later and a little closer to that show. I'm not hearing that confidence from some of the lighting manufacturers that they're going to have the gear to be able to show. Not that they don't have the prototypes in and they've got their display models. They don't know when they're going to get that container. So if we show it in November, people see it in November, people don't take too kindly to it if they can't purchase it. And if they introduce it in November or October, whenever, and show it, if they show off the new gig bar as an example from Chauvet, I'm just pulling this just as one because everyone knows what a gig bar is. If they show off the gig bar pro quad hex whatever, and people see that, all of a sudden any past of units are probably going to be, the price is going to have to drop and they're not going to sell. So if they have, between here and China, they have containers of gig bars of last year's models finally getting here, they're not going to be showing things like they would like to. Yeah. That's going to feed into this, this whole, why they're not at InfoComm showing, right, or why they're not showing at, and why they weren't committing to NAMM like they probably would have in the past.
It's a chess game on their part beyond materials that, you know, everybody talks about. It's current, like you said, current stuff that they have to shuffle around, that they want to sell instead of it being dead product just sitting there. They want to move it, so they're not going to put something out new until they can move some of that somehow, you know, and or then getting out something new and then dropping the price enough to move that older product too. It's on a global scale, so you gotta, you know, because it's not just for those of us who live in the United States. There are other countries, because I follow Den in South Africa, and they struggle to get stuff that we've had 2 or 3 years. So for them getting stuff that we've had for 2 or 3 years, they may be 2 or 3 more years to get it with all of this going on.
Oh, for sure. And that international side is an interesting look, because there are people, when the 7000 came out, if I probably had a dozen people, as you and I were doing videos talking about it, they're reaching out and they're like, hey, how can I get a 7000 in India? Can somebody, if I pay for it, can I have somebody ship me one? And these were legitimate people, young people who are doing the DJ thing. They couldn't get the gear there, but they saw it and they're like, this is awesome. I need it. So yeah, not only is it going to be where they can sell in the UK or the United States or wherever, anywhere in Europe or in North America, but internationally. And if they could probably move some of the older gear that way.
It's an interesting time, in the fact that, you know, like I said, when John said about NAMM moving, that was a big indicator of stuff right there, because you get NAMM is not just DJ stuff. It's all of music.
Yes.
And that is in itself is a humongous community, because that's all pianos, all guitars, all wind instruments, all amps, all mics, all chords, all mic stands and music stands and piano chairs and piano stands and guitar stands and
anything.
Everything.
Literally anything music is, you can find it there. So it's interesting that they moved it. I guess that wasn't too big of a surprise. The part that was the where it landed is it landed in early June, and that's getting to the end of the convention summer, or the spring conventions. Generally in May, there's the National Hardware Show is a big one that comes in, and there's different social media ones that are there, and broadcast ones that have been there in the spring. You get into June and it gets really hot in Vegas, which anyone living down there gets an idea that, you know, knows exactly. It's not as bad as July and August, but it can get very warm. So trade shows aren't a huge thing, yet there's the hotels down there in June, crazy expensive.
Yeah.
So because they've got vacationers and things coming in.
What's your thought on availability, as in the sense of that NAMM used to be primarily an industry show for industry people, but they've opened it up to lots of other people, just news people who want to go and check stuff out.
I think they did that.
Being in June, are they going to be able to pull people who would normally maybe just go on vacation somewhere? So
NAMM has moved from being a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to a Thursday. They've dumped one day, so they're Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So they dumped today. Now, June is usually a busy time, and if you're in Southern California, people are going to be in Disney for one thing, so you're there. You may not be competing with too many trade shows, but you're competing with vacation time things, and then you get. I just don't know if that open to the public thing is going to work for them this year, because people who would typically go in January probably didn't have a January show on a Friday or Saturday. and now they're going to be doing. And I've heard people when we mentioned the other night that it's going to be in June, people are like, yeah, I've got weddings booked that weekend, especially if we're moving weddings. This our personal thing. We've had our fall weddings pretty much cancel because of what's going on, and people are like, yeah, we got to push back. We're going to go till next year. So if those things are happening and people are booked solid, you're going to lose. You'll get the people who are wanting to go in there, and they're the ones who would hand out the CDs. Hey, check out my mixtape. Type of thing. They'll still be there, some of them, but some of them might probably have to bust tables on a Friday night or during busy season. I just don't know. So how Disney's going to have a huge effect. Literally, the price of the hotel rooms were 2.5 times as much as they were in January. January for NAMM in Anaheim, the room that we would stay in was running about $270 a night. In the summer when we were looking, the pricing, and maybe that'll change just because we're so far out, but the prices was for that same room was $600.
Jeez, Louise.
For one night. So,
wow. You realize 2 nights there is like what my car's worth.
as I look at it, I don't really know if it's going to be, we can afford to. I'm sure the airfare is going to be, it'll be about what it is, whether it's $450, $500 a person. I don't think that's going to vary too much from January to June. There might even be more flights available because of it being, quote, vacation time. It's just that you start looking at the hotel, and if the hotel's that much, that means that they probably, all the little food and different things that are there are not going to be inexpensive, but the crowds will also be smaller, so maybe it will be. So I just don't know. We've heard rumbling from inside the manufacturers that there's a lot of questioning about, is NAMM, because of, first off, as you mentioned with the crowd that they're pulling, is NAMM as effective today as it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago? Mm-hmm. Is it worth investing in? This is why I was kind of concerned about them moving to June first, because we're now competing with vacation money. Secondly, is their summer. They had Summer NAMM in Nashville, and Summer NAMM's been known as a very weak summer show. Right. I'm sure for some parts of the industry it did okay, but it seemed like it was just kind of a slowly declining event that went on, and it was mainly music instruments. The 10 years ago there were DJ things there, and over time there was an attrition to that, and they just didn't do it anymore. Summer NAMM's gone, and now they're moving to Winter NAMM to June and making that, quote, the combined Summer NAMM, but it's still in Anaheim. I'm not optimistic about it being even close to what it would have been. Right. I could see it we may see it down a third, maybe even stronger than that. Could be half the crowd. One of the big reasons, my personal opinion, why I think that the show was moved is a combination of the people not committing to it. People like myself who would be in there booking rooms and things. Some of us aren't doing that. I think secondly is that you've got manufacturers who wouldn't travel to different shows and are basically saying, hey, we weren't traveling in 2021 and it's not looking good for early 2022, so we can't sign a contract. And I think you get to a point where a third of your room or half of your room isn't signing contracts. You got to start looking at it as that we can't crack this egg on a half a full venue. Yeah. We've got to have the venue. So I think you might have seen the Anaheim Convention Center say, okay, we'll give you this space cheaper in June just to get you back, and then now they've got to see what they can sign. Right. I would not be surprised if instead of it being the lower level and the main floor and then the upper floors and then the building across the street and then a couple of hotel rooms, I could see a percentage of that space going away for this new summer experience. Right. And it may not be such a bad idea by moving it to summer. Maybe this is a way of using this as a reset tool, so that they can come back in January. And we didn't use that space last summer, so we're not using that space, and we can kind of push everybody into this other space and make it look fuller. Yeah, because even in 2019, which is the last year I went, I didn't go in 2020. You were seeing larger aisles in some spots, and you were seeing spaces where they had food that they didn't have food in the past. Right, there was just more signs that the numbers of booths were spread out over more space, yes, but there wasn't as many as there were the year or two before when they had expanded all that space. It was just an attrition going on already. So
it's going to be a swap meet there in the future. Just local businesses coming in selling everything in the industry.
I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think NAMM might have to kind of reinvent itself to a point,
Right.
and have more of a digital experience. And it might be that, manufacturers are going to jump on, Chauvet did their Chauvet Roadshow, and ADJ is doing their experience. I don't know what they call theirs, but they're traveling around and they're going to these towns. They're only being seen by 50 people in a community, and that's not even close to the number of entertainers using their products in a specific area. But I think as they figure these things out and they figure out how to get social media influencers from those communities in there to come in and really start hyping up these shows, I think they're going to find out that these will be much greater reach-wise and effectiveness than something like NAMM, because they can, instead of having the dealers fly out there, the dealers could basically send a free product to the dealers and save that $200,000 that they would have spent at the whole NAMM experience. They could send every dealer a free product and have somebody on Zoom and explain it to them.
Yeah.
And they would still be money ahead. And I think you're going to see more things such as that going forward. And there's Ben and the crew, and they go down there. Ben goes one direction, and he's talking to people, and they go and they write contracts and do it. There isn't a thing that really they did with meeting these companies and doing the contracts they couldn't do over Zoom or whatever.
Right. It has always been done face to face, and it's one of those things that I think a lot of companies now are learning, that a lot of this does not have to be physically face to face.
And precisely, and I think that's as they figure out how to become more productive when it comes to the digital communication. Yeah,
the digital communication was always a very disconnected. It's not real meeting. It's not now because of 2020. A lot of that's changed, where it's really like, it's okay. It's not considered rude to meet someone in an online meeting, as opposed to, no, we have to go to that city. It's not like that now, or you know what I mean? It's changed. So.
Yeah. So
what about other spring shows that we both know about?
Well,
I don't want you, if you know stuff that you're not allowed to say, I'm not pressuring you.
Yeah, no. I've distanced myself from pretty much all the shows because I want to be able to speak openly about them as people ask questions. So if we move NAMM's gone out of January, so January is going to be fairly quiet. We're all going to be excited for the Super Bowl, whatever, sports. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll get out of January, and then we get into February. The later February is the mobile entertainment expo and photo booth expo coming in Las Vegas. And they've been working on that, putting that together. My gut, if it was my money involved with that show, I would be sweating bullets right now. And it's not that they've got sponsors that are lined up to go there, but you've got people who, yes, there's a lot of tickets have been sold, but you got people who are starting to get a little bit nervous right now when it comes to, can I travel safely? Can I do this? Can I do that? Oh my gosh, my neighbor who just had their shots and has been vaccinated just got really, really sick because they went out for the first time and had dinner. There's a lot of this discussion going on around the country. You have some people, there's a percentage of the population who is like, I don't care, I'm going to go. But you need to have most of the population of those people, potentially your audience, going. If you're losing half of your audience because they're not comfortable flying, traveling, whatever, you can't make a show go on just a fraction of your audience. You need to have that whole audience. And I think that could be a huge concern, is that they'll have people that will get there. There's no question about it. There's people who will go there. They'll crawl across broken glass and look every doorknob between here and there because they just don't care, whatever.
No!
But you can't get just those 100 people. You need to have, a show that size for what he's putting together. You've got to have, 2,000, 3,000 people coming through the doors. If you can't do it, you're in, financially, it's going to be a tough egg there also. So I'm really concerned about that, of how successful that can be. And it's very, very concerning for that.
We're on the second half of the year of this year, and you normally have to be way before 6 months prior to have commitment to that.
And I think he's, there's quite a bit of commitment. There's a lot of tickets sold. I just saw the other day he posted that they're at a record number of exhibits in the photo booth side, and a record number of passes sold. I think there's a little how the tickets are being counted and dealt with. As far as those tickets are allocated and they're there. That people are behind those tickets, but I think they incorporated some tickets from past the mobile beat that never happened. Were folded into it. So there's 400 tickets there that are adding to the total. That's not that that's an illegal or whatever. It's a reality that there's 400 tickets. That 400 by this time would have pumped it and bumped the numbers up. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that people are quote committed, but those 450 people doesn't mean that they're going to go because they spent their money 2 years ago, or they bought the tickets in 2019 to go to a 2020 show, and now as they get into 2022, it's like, are we really going to spend? Would we go? I don't know how many of them will. So it's going to be a little bit of a tough road there in February.
Yeah, it is definitely that's for the longest time everybody's mindset was, oh, if everybody gets a shot, everything will be back open. But there's so many people that have gotten shots that are still gun shy. So it's not just one community that's I'm resisting. There's people on both.
Oh, for sure. When we thought we got those shots and we were April, yay! And then this Delta thing, and it just kind of went right through the shot. Yes, you won't get as sick, but it's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Here we are. We're back to not quite back to square one. I mean, now we're not. As someone who did get the shot, I'm not worried about getting sick and dying, but I'm worried about, okay, so my wedding that I was supposed to have in what is it, 2 weeks. They're like, yeah, we can't do the wedding because we've got family who can't get the vaccine, and we wanted them there, so we're going to put it off.
I can honestly tell you that in the past month and a half, 2 months, I have gotten many gigs, multiple gigs from DJs who caught COVID.
Yeah. And we've had a couple of calls that have come in with, hey, our DJ is down with COVID. Can you help fill in? It's like, well, sure, we've got an opening.
As long as the check clears, right?
And then their second question is, well, how much do you charge? And it's like, well, you know what? For tonight, I'd give it to you for this. Ooh, can you do it cheaper? Our DJ was cheaper than that.
Yeah. No, on these things, it's like, no, you're going to pay.
No, I'm not.
I have been taken care of.
Yeah, it's not that I'm gouging you and raising my prices. I'm actually giving you a little bit of a knockoff just because I want to have as much time into the planning and prep. But I'm also not going to go out for $50 an hour. I'm not going to do a Saturday and go and have to lug gear and no.
And lick doorknobs, as you say.
Yeah, exactly. I can go and lick doorknobs.
That's a horrible picture that went through my head when you're.
Well, it's kind of what it does, but yeah. So yeah, then we get in. Then we get into Midwest DJs. The Midwest DJs there in April, end of April, early May. I think they're in April this year.
Did they have a 2021 show?
They did have it, and it went well. And it sounded like they didn't have any problems with anything. By then, Wisconsin, I believe, was opened up, so there really wasn't any mask. The mask mandate was still in force in Illinois, in Chicago, up until just before Casey's show and the Marquee show. But yeah, Wisconsin, they caught it just right during that April, May, June lull. Right. So you had a good show in Wisconsin, you had a good show in June, and then you got to the even Arms DJ. That was the only of the three shows. That was the only one that had any issues with people coming back sick from it, from what we've heard. Right. But so next year you'll have Midwest coming up in that time frame. Midwest is going to be in a tough spot because some of the manufacturers, they might be starting to drip out some of their new products by then, but Midwest might be just ahead of that NAMM, just far enough where people are going to be like, yeah, there's nothing new, so we really don't have much to show. And it might be, and not that they depend on the manufacturer side of it too much, but it might have been one of those things that if NAMM would have been moved to March, that would have put Midwest the next show where they could have said, hey, come to Wisconsin and we'll give you cheese, we'll give you brats, and we can show your stuff. That would have been a great sales pitch, but instead they're on the wrong side of it. Right. Putting Marquee show is going to come in, I think 2 weeks later after NAMM. the marquee show could be in the perfect position for this year for that, to be able to say, this is the spot where you're going to be able to see it and touch it. And I think that if shipping does catch up with these companies, that and the June is going to function for NAMM, it won't be I'm showing it in January and it might be available in May. This will be, I'm showing it to you in June and you can order it today, or you can touch it in 2 weeks at the marquee show. I have a feeling that that's going to be most likely the way this is going to play out, is that the manufacturers by then should have product and ready to go.
We're not just talking about new product. We're talking about copies of stuff that has been released.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, the Evolve, as an example, the Evolve 30s and the Evolve 50s, I believe those are all back ordered, which if we talked to Ben 2 months ago and he was saying, okay, this company's out till September, this company's out. And he goes, Electro Voice was the only one that wasn't at the time because they had placed orders. Well, it's caught up. Their success in selling a good product has caught up with them, and now they too are kind of out of stock.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine that I don't know if it was the 50s or what's the biggest one? Is the 50s the biggest one?
The 50 is the biggest. Yeah.
Okay, then that's what he had, and he had something in the board on one of his go bad, and they're like, we have a used one here, that we can sell you the from the back panel, the bottom of the sub, and he's like, I'll take it.
I need something. So
yeah, and he had white speakers, and he had to end up getting a black one of those, so it didn't even match what he had. He just like, I've got to have something to get up and running. So it's and we've been told by people in the industry that some people not to look for copies. I'm talking about not talking about a new product coming out. We're talking about products that are out now. You just can't get new ones from the manufacturer. Are telling us don't look for them until spring.
Yeah, yep. And that's
so controllers and stuff that maybe you want that have been out for a while that you just can't buy a new one right now at all.
I was talking to another dealer friend, and they have I don't remember which controller it is. They have like 100 of them on order, and they get a couple drip in. And it's the only thing we're coming back with is, instead of them sending a pallet of them over, they might be sending over a few on UPS or something to that effect, just so they can have some flow, but they aren't doing it.
Yeah, the Guitar Center sites like that if you're looking for, because I have a friend of mine that has been looking for the new SRT, not the new SRT, but the Pioneer 1000 SRT. And he said every once in a while he'll see it on there that it's available, and it's normally marked on back order, and he'll jump in to place an order, and by the time he gets there, on back order. So it's like that. It's just little ones here. That he ended up switching and getting a Reign. So the Reigns seem to be available, but the price went up on them too. So
you
might be able to get something, but you're going to pay extra for it now.
Yeah, and that is so much the case. Even outside of our industry, you're looking at appliances and power tools. The power tools. There's some of the deals that we could get 2 years ago. And kind of a typical how the discounts went. You just aren't seeing that because they don't need to. Yeah. People are willing to pay that.
It's a fun time to be in our business, right?
To a point, it is in some ways, because this is for those who are out there working and they're in the right area and things are going well for them. They're doing gangbusters. Maybe doing different types of shows. They might be doing more outdoor events. They might be doing more beach events or backyard events. But there are some people out there who are busier now than they have ever been in their whole career. I talked to a gentleman who's doing 7 shows in like 5 days. And he was just like, it's been like this for the last 2 months. And I'm not going to complain because he obviously sitting out last year, but he goes, it's like every day. And the idea of doing Thursday weddings in Minnesota, that would be considered a completely, faux pas thing to do. But many of my friends who are working in the larger East Coast markets are like, Thursday weddings have become what we do.
Yeah, I saw somebody that literally post Thursday weddings. I guess it's a thing now. And it was just like his way of confirming, like, yep, gonna be doing Thursday weddings.
Yeah.
Day and Night says that Ape Lights confirmed they are releasing new lights in 2022. That's what I said when I said earlier. I said that Pioneer and Denon are going to come out with new stuff. We don't know when, but they probably are.
Yeah,
eventually. So, that's I was so hoping for some new stuff before Christmas, but I I don't think anything major at all is going to happen new wise.
Yeah, I don't think across the board. I think we're not going to see new, and I don't even know if we're going to see, because things just aren't in stock, and that becomes a question of how long can a company be trying. They're trying to get their name out there.
Yeah.
You look at the type of marketing that you're seeing on Facebook from these different companies. They're putting up posts of a performer playing, that's singing into their microphone, or a performer that's live streaming using their mixer, whatever. It's like you're not seeing the typical type of things where they're trying to push product. It's just like, oh, hey, our product is in the background of this picture. That's a social media. That's what we're going to do and push. And it's like, oh, that's just stupid. I'm sorry. It's just stupid. I want to see the new controller, and I want to see this and that and the other thing. Oh, those don't exist yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
It's, you were saying something there that kind of, and I can't remember what it was now, about, new products. Anyways, my mind just went blank there. But you're making a good point about something or other there. Yeah, so what does that mean then? I did have a question that it popped up. Have you been talking to Ben? Like, how is his pro level, like show level stuff for equipment? Are they having trouble there also?
Yeah, it's across the board. That they, in some companies were able to acquire more products, more install products and such, and those who did, they just are running the line before they run out of supplies. They can continue as far as they can go. Right. I think what Ben is you watch kind of what he's been doing himself personally, and he's been doing more live sound, or getting back into that field, and he's doing more things with that. And even some of the other sales companies, you're seeing what they've been putting up on their social media. You haven't seen a ton of installs going out right now, and I think part of that is because they were doing installs last year in places where they were shut down and they were doing them, but you're not seeing many installs this year. What you're seeing is our friends over at Canal Sound Light there. Somebody buys a mixer or a controller, and I don't know if they're excited because they made the sale, which I don't think so. I think it's just that, hey, we had a controller that we had one. Woo! Somebody could buy it. Whatever it may be. It's just it's in a weird time where the traditional ways of them making their money and the things that they did have definitely changed.
Two things. I did remember what I was going to talk about. We were talking about the home streaming, but I want to touch on what someone's saying in the chat right now about the MCX 8000 and the fact that I am so happy that about 2 years ago, I found a use, because I run the 7000, but I found a used 7000 that I bought as a backup, and I am holding on to that thing dearly, that if my current one goes, I at least have one more to go to before things get desperate.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. So if you have something that's going, I would hunt for a used backup. I know I talk about Guitar Center Law because I teach DJ classes for them, but you can pay a little bit extra and get like 3 years, no matter what, it gets replaced or fixed, and that could save you. But if you have something that's going, I would start right now trying to find at least a backup, even if it's not the same thing, because you may not be able to just go, oh, I have the money, I just want to buy a new one, because there may not be a new one for another 8 months.
Yeah, and that's the thing is even if you had the warranty, if you can't get it parts and...
Yeah, that's the tough thing with some of the things. Some are going to be easy to get, other ones are not. They were talking about buttons in there. I'm guessing buttons would probably be pretty easy, but if it's any sort of electronics or motors,
it could be very difficult. Yeah,
difficult. But yeah, we were back to talking about, were you talking about streaming? That's at least some of the products we're seeing companies putting out right now is stuff for the home DJ, the home performer, the online whatever. We are at least seeing some products coming out that way.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting arena. We've been this is the time of year with the Disc Jockey News, we start looking ahead into 2022 and kind of, okay, what are we going to change? What are we going to do? Who is the audience? What are we going to modify to reach different people? And MJ before the show pulled up the report, the DJ, what is it? What do they call that?
DJ Digital Tips Global Census for 2021.
Yeah, the census that they do. And we talk about that generally when they put it out in January or early February, whenever it goes live. And the numbers of DJs who are not mobile DJs, not people who are actually going out. You know, the bedroom hobbyists, there we go. Mobile and corporate are the second. But if you really just look at the green and the blue there and a couple of those, the majority of the people out there would probably consider themselves just somebody who's out there doing it for fun. They have no interest in ever going and making money with this. And it's that audience that is spending money to buy pieces. They're buying the streaming thing so they can go and become the Twitch DJ that will probably only have 2 people ever watch their show. They're out there buying a controller. I mean, talking to the Pioneer guys at one time, they were talking about that the person who buys this controller is not a mobile DJ. This is not even a club DJ. This is somebody who will go spend this $2,000 on this unit and never leave their bedroom. And it's like, wow, really? And they're like, yeah, they're a great audience. They're a great crowd. Yeah. They basically started going with the Wii Go or whatever that series, and they were finding out that, wow, there's a market, and we can go to Best Buy, and Best Buy will feed that market, and people buy them. Well, let's put up a nicer one and see if they'll buy. Let's put up a nicer one and see. Wow, let's put up this big expensive thing. Will they buy it? Yeah.
I have a friend who is in like the high end of the industry, and he says, you're not going to believe how many guys I run into who do stuff in recording studios and, are part of this kind of, they love all this stuff. And they would buy like the Denon full-blown setup or the Pioneer Nexus system. We're talking thousands of dollars just sitting in their house to play with. Mm-hmm. And he said, there's so many of them. They're like, oh, look at my home setup. And their home setup's better than what most we're using out. Yeah. And that's all they do with it, is that it's something fun to play with, and they've spent thousands. So there is an audience that's because you got to understand, according to that statistic, only 10% of people who call themselves DJs do it full time. So right off the bat, 90% are part timers. And then there's a large portion of those that aren't even timers. Mm-hmm. Yeah. or no timers.
Yeah, no timers. Yeah, and that's really, and that's as we look into 2022, is we need to figure out ways to be able to help that audience, and whatever we figure out will be. But
because if you want to see where this is going, just go to your local Walmart or go to Best Buy and look at their section where they sell streaming lights, cameras, things to hold your cameras up. That is a huge industry right now in itself. Broadcasting from home on 1,000 different things you do, whether it be musical, advice, whatever. It's huge.
And one part with that streaming is, you mentioned lighting, and this will bridge us over into what Dan threw out there. Is he's been seeing a lot of the Astra lights out there. If you guys have had a chance to see that, I believe Jason Janai has some, and he's done some videos with those. I think Joe Bunn has them also, or Joe Bunn, if he doesn't have those, he has something that looks almost identical to them. But basically, there's a variety of LED lights. There's LED tubes. The pixel tubes are the things that are really hot right now in the DJ industry, and some people have jumped on those. Basically, it's a 3-foot tube, give or take. Something to that effect, and they're linkable, and you can do things with those.
I thought I was sharing that whole time. Sorry.
There we go. Yeah, so there's.
I opened this up to show them, and I'm like, oh, look at all these, and I'm like, wait, I'm not sharing with them.
Yeah, there we go. So they're a little pixel tube, and you can do different ways to control it. And they have an app, I believe, that you can control with the phone. So it's a neat effect, and it's, as they say, it's the future of DJ lighting. Yay, it's cool. Well, that little box there you're seeing kind of in the on the left side there of MJ's screen. There you can see a version. There we go. That's the one. Adorama, the AX1. It was just, you got to go to the right there a little bit. So that's a version, but that's not the one that DJs are talking about. Go back, go to the AX1, which is the next one from.
I gotta wait till this thing goes out of the way. How do I get it to go out of the way?
There we go. AX, right there, that one. So that's the one that is getting the most talked about. There we go. $4,500. You get 8 of those tubes, and you can do your little light show and set them up and run them and do your things. But that is what is a hot thing. And the reason why some people are saying it's cool is you can use it for the DJ show, or you can use it for studio lighting, because it will allow you to have complete control over color temperature and brightness and anything to that effect. So
I muted myself so that I want to pause that for a second.
Yeah.
So that we didn't get the audio thing there. But
Yep.
it's the whole thing that it's wireless and movable, and that's kind of what they're pushing, is this whole thing that it becomes another lighting. And if those of you who don't know, follow Denon, scantily clad women that don't need to be on the screen. That Denon with their, what is the thing that they do to control lights?
Oh, goodness gracious.
Not Show Express, it's whatever it is, they now have that to where it works with Philips Hue lights, like the bulbs that you would have in your house. So, and their pushing point, there's the app, and the pushing point for their being able to tie into that, was it SoundStream, wasn't it?
There we go. Yep.
Yeah. And right. Their advertisement for that was to make your live stream better.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, again, these are thousands of dollars these things cost, and they are marketing it towards, not just, these are on the higher end, but there's a lot that is being marketed towards the home entertainer.
Yeah, for surely. And in that case, they could be used obviously for a variety of different, but 4,500 was, I was expecting, it's like, okay, so maybe $200 a tube, and you know,
I would have guessed lower than pardon me. And John and I were joking before the show, well, can't you just go get like a clear pool noodle and throw some glow sticks in it and do the same thing?
Have some fun with it.
But that's an interesting new part of what we're going to be doing, I think, in the future. I think it's going to be a while before it's business as usual. I think we're still going to have to be creative for a while.
And and I think for those who can get into things like that, and it's kind of like the DJ booth, the little futuristic DJ booth things, they were cool and they were unique for a period of time, and I think those are similar to that. They'll be cool and unique, and then once they get knocked off and sold cheaper, then you're going to find that becomes a thing that's not so exciting anymore. But
can I irritate some people right now,
Go
John? Ahead. You know what I think would be new and novel would be DJs who actually mix at events and not just press play.
I like pressing.
I'm just saying that don't use programs that auto mix. Programs that auto mix. People who don't use Megaseg.
Yeah, so you got it. So for those
I
of
was
you
thirsty, I had to do that.
So for those of you who saw MJ's posts earlier today.
Go ahead. Yes. Go ahead.
So MJ, I can't share it because if I share it, then it bounces you out. So I can't do that.
Oh.
So I only can talk about it. So MJ picked up a new controller that he was going to be using for teaching. Right there, the SB3 from Pioneer. Nice little controller. He's going to be utilizing it in his classes. The real reason why he bought that, this is behind the scenes stuff here for those of you who are wondering. That controller is Megaseg is fully set up to be able to work with that controller. So the real reason is that MJ is secretly going, see right there it is, the Pioneer DJ SB3 is ready to go for Megaseg. So for those of you wondering.
The thing is, Megaseg only works on Mac. So I'm screwed.
Yeah, so things are changing. Things are
changing. Yeah, think about that. That's a non-Denon thing that I purchased in the first one in a long time, and how even that part of the industry itself, things are going to change. And I have always said that, let's put it this way. There was a study done of people who lived over 100 years old, and they all had things in common. One of them was they all had a high calorie intake, that kind of surprised me. They all were extremely active, and they all dealt with change really well. And that included people dying or things in life changing, job changing, stuff like that. So that is something that I'm telling you from a person who hates change, that is a powerful tool. If you can embrace change, you have a much better chance of succeeding. That's what I think, at least.
let's see, Carlos. Don Carlo, for those of you who got the chance to meet Carlos there from Don Carlo Events, he just popped into the chat room. He was one of the names I wanted to bring up tonight in the show. MJ, did you connect with him in Vegas beyond, because he was with us at the burger place? Did you?
I'm sure.
Did
yes.
you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yes.
So on Facebook, if you guys are following him, and if you don't, Carlos, if you can put your Facebook link in there so people can pop out. But he's been super busy, and he's been doing a lot of really cool shows out there, and he's been having some fun with the DJ biz. So for those of you out there, go follow. I recommend following his page there and following his posts, because he's been really as they would say, burning it up here this year. So it's kind of cool to see, that how he's taken his page and he's taken it to a new level with everything they've been doing there. So it's really cool.
Really professional. Like, he should be getting paid for it. Oh, and by the way, yes, we were in Vegas together.
There we go. Yep.
That was three of us in the tiniest little Uber car.
There we go. Excellent.
But yeah, it's kudos for people who step out like it. Again, I've been doing it recently, and I'm not gonna lie and try to hide behind things. But in the past 6 months, I've played more country songs than I've ever played in my entire freaking life.
Wow.
I'm just letting you know that. Because the checks have been big enough to get me to play country music. That's all I gotta say.
That certainly helps. That certainly helps. Oh, funny.
So you have to, if I can do it, and I hate doing it, I encourage you, give it a try if you want to keep going. If you want to chill out, I think, John, we talked about this. How many people did we hear about that just decided that they wanted to just work a day job and spend time with their family?
Quite a few.
That's what you want.
And quite a few, and it's even outside of our DJ industry, the number of people who have left one job and have gone to I don't want to say a simpler job, but maybe a less stressful job, less hour job.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, so maybe we don't take I don't fly to Vegas for 2 boys' weekends. Instead, I'll take a different job, and I can go to my children's baseball. Literally today at a cross-country meet, I was talking to a parent, and I haven't seen him. I've seen him at other sporting events, but I've never seen him at a track or a cross-country event, and his children run. And he's like, I changed jobs so I can be here.
Yeah.
And it's all around that, kind of going back to the time they spent in 2020 during that simpler life, kind of making that whole circle.
They what's going on? I had it going on.
Yeah, they were here.
You want to see some amazing videos? Go to YouTube and search for videos on the Great Resignation. And it's a movement that they're saying about 41% of people are going to walk away from those high stress jobs or the multiple jobs to work the simpler job or less jobs so that they can have less stress. Yeah. And that's 41%, they're saying. That is a huge part of a community.
Very much so, yeah.
Adults and people that people we know that were the movers and shakers and the hustlers and the grinders are going, grinding ain't all it's meant to be. And I'll tell you that right off the bat. Yeah. I'm perfectly okay not grinding. But when I want to grind, I will. But I have my life set to when I don't, I don't. And
that's one of the things cool about being self-employed is when you want to, and sometimes when you don't want to, you still have to. But most of the time, you can pick and choose, and you have that flexibility. MJ, we are out of time here. Up next, gang, Howie is coming in. He's got a crew with him tonight. It looks like John is going to be with him. Eric, Brian, and Jay, I believe. They're talking about the perception of your event is the title of tonight's show, and you can go out to DJNTV.com/chill. And bounce out there. They'll be getting ready to record here in just a few minutes. DJNTV.com/chill. I just put it in the chat, and it looked like it went into all the chat rooms or into the comments section, so you can go and grab that. Brian's with us. Hey, Brian. Thanks for jumping in, and you guys have yourself a fun time tonight. Otherwise, MJ, I think we've wrapped it up. It went fast.
Can I talk about Wednesday real quick?
Oh, yeah, please, quick.
Wednesday, join me, 9 p.m., right here on Disc Jockey News. Even though I counted them up, John, approximately including Monday night chats and all these things, I've done over 500 total videos for Disc Jockey News. But my music and mixing show has kind of been a heart place for me. And Wednesday night, 9 p.m., we're going to be celebrating the 100th episode. So please come and join me Wednesday night, this Wednesday, the 15th, 9 p.m., right here on Disc Jockey News.
Sounds great. We'll catch you guys. You guys head on over there because we only got a couple of minutes to go. We'll be back next Monday night with the education. We'll be back in 2 weeks with our regular Monday night show. So see you then. Good night, everybody.